Hey everyone, today is April 30th, 2023 in Massachusetts. It's a nice day, around 61 degrees, and we just turned onto the road of the triangular Great Culvert. Right now we're driving by a pretty nice beaver swamp that is not affecting the road, and we are heading to a beaver swamp right now, which usually is affecting the road. And we're going to see what kind of blockage the beavers have for us. I've attempted to come to this location 3 times this year so far. I was able to come very early in the year and there was no blockage at the time. And the past couple months this road has been closed for mud season because it's very soft. But now that the mud season's over in Massachusetts, we're allowed down here again. Look at this, the trees are starting to grow leaves in this area. You know, we were just in another area of Massachusetts near Boston, which already has a good portion of their leaves. What you're seeing now is mostly just buds opening up. And we were also in another place that looked more like winter. So Massachusetts has very varying terrain. We should be there in a little while. Maybe another 6 miles down this dirt road. Wow, the trees here look really nice. Look at all these buds opening up. Very pretty. The grass is so green in Massachusetts. Haven't been down here in a couple weeks. It looks really beautiful. Been getting a lot of rain too. Hopefully this summer is no drought. Been getting a lot of rain in the last month or so, which is really nice. I always stop it. I always have to take notice when I go over a pipe. That pipe has never had a blockage, but I still inspect it every time going over it. It also looks like this area may have also been just fixed by the grader. That guy may have came down here last year, fixing the mud and stuff. You see all these nice open fields? Years ago, this whole area used to be farms, but now it's a wildlife area. But in the wintertime, it's open to deer hunters and stuff. These fields make great hunting grounds. I think this is our road right here. This is the road we're going to go down today. And this is open. Sometimes this road opens and closes at different times and we have to park by the gate, which is not a big inconvenience because this road, it's only about 1.5 miles deep in here. Wow, this road was definitely redone. I believe this one was regraded last year. I don't think it was done again this spring. But this road used to be really bad. People used to smash their oil pans all the time on it. Since it's near a larger Massachusetts city, people would bring sedans down here and they'd break their oil pans because obviously they don't know the clearance of their vehicle. And I'd find trails of oil before. Right here is a really big beaver dam that has structures. Right here looks like, is this a brand new pipe? No, it is not a brand new culvert pipe. It's just a ditch filled with gravel so the water can pass through it. Maybe they're going to do future improvements or leave it like that. I'm not sure. So why exactly is this area not farmland anymore? You see all the rock walls and stuff around here? The farmers all moved those over to the sides and built walls just to get them out of their fields. That's the reason for all the rock walls in former farm areas. The reason it's no longer farmland is because this whole area is watershed area for drinking water, and they don't want that contaminants that may get in the ground from fertilizing the fields, and the equipment may leak into the fields. Although there is still logging happening in this forest. Here we are arriving at the triangular Great Culvert. Let's see how it looks. Grass is turning nice and green. The swamp is greening up really nice. Before we get out, what can I see? The water level does not look very high. We know what just happened there? My air freshener just jumped up on top of the camera. Water levels do not look high at all. But they have been working on this road and maintaining it, so maybe there's not a problem today. We're gonna get out and see what we got. There's a couple parking spaces here. This is mostly trail parking you see right here. This is a hunting trail, hiking trail, but I don't believe any of this is open for snowmobiles. Massachusetts doesn't have many snowmobile trails. They're not into that type of stuff. Yeah, take a look at this guy. See this? Bigfoot guy, air freshener. Thought it was pretty cool. It already doesn't smell, but I went over a bump and it just bumped up onto the camera if you were able to hear that or not. So after all winter, what do we have? The Parks Department, since they just opened this road in like the past couple weeks, it wasn't open a couple weeks ago, they may have gone in here and removed the Damn. Yeah, they definitely did something because it's crooked again. Every time they do it, they lift it up probably with a heavy machinery. I doubt their employees actually go in there like I do. Just like last time, I had to reseat the entire thing because they put it in there so crooked. So one time we found this, it was way up to the top of that. I don't see any debris at all. We're not even going to get into the water today, even though I got the big high boots still on. Down there is a giant beaver lodge. Take a look at that. This is with our 10 times zoom lens. Still looks pretty active down there. Yeah, these beavers will not be relocated. They are protected in this area for water management. So this is always going to be a problem that has to be done by the Parks Department and myself. There is some debris in here, so we'll get down. We don't need second camera or anything. This is really not going to accelerate much at all. I wonder how warm the water is. Today I went down inside a freezing cold area, and I also went in one that's like bath water. This is very warm. You could literally go swimming in here, but there's probably a lot of leeches and there's a lot of mosquitoes buzzing around my head. The mosquitoes are just coming out up where I live, and I should have known that this area was going to be worse because they are a whole climate zone away, maybe even 2. I know their growing season down here starts a month early. There is some debris from the beaver. I guess they just didn't have enough water. There is a good amount of debris. I just didn't see it from up above. And see this? I always make sure this thing's snug so the beavers can't get in here. The whole point of this structure is to stop these guys from building a dam in the pipe. So whoever was the last one to unclog this obviously doesn't understand the structure because they didn't put it all the way back in here. Oh, the noise just stopped as the dam floats away. Yeah, these mosquitoes are a pain in the butt. Gotta really reach. I'm gonna be covered in bites regardless, it doesn't matter. But I gotta remember, gotta get bug spray. I have a ton of it stockpiled at home. Got like a dozen cans since I go through almost a dozen cans every summer. So we got a good amount of stuff here. Just gonna do it like this. One-handed unclogging. There is a good amount. Yeah, from up there it really didn't look like much, but I have to remove all this stuff in order to be able to readjust the structure into the proper position. This thing is really under there. That's a really, really big stick. Wow. How big is this? Wow. It wasn't that big. It was just covered in grass clumps and mud. Beavers love their mud. This shows you the beavers are still active. They've been active for a while here in Mass. They must be loving this warm water. And it hasn't even been that warm in Mass. Massachusetts had a couple days that were very close to 90 degrees a few weeks ago, which is unseasonably warm. I remember during that, I was up in New Hampshire checking out the melting, and they got up to 86 up in the White Mountain area. In the summertime, they're not even supposed to get that high. Their average July temperature, which is the hottest month, is 76 in the White Mountains. Last year was the hottest record year ever. They were averaging 91 in July. And that killed so many trees, made so many bodies of water dry up. We were going around like crazy rescuing thousands of frogs. My neighbor has a substantial pond. I have a 6,000 gallon pond I just installed last year. This spring I just installed 3 55 gallon ponds. I had an existing 70, I think, gallon pond. Maybe it's 100. I relocated this year already thousands of eggs out of a highway drainage ditch into the yard. And once they turn into frogs, they are free to hop away wherever they want. My neighbor also let me put a bunch of those eggs in his pond. His pond's big enough, grows a lot of algae. They'll be able to probably sustain themselves. But my smaller ponds at home, we feed the tadpoles exactly what they eat in the wild, algae. A lot of it grows in my ponds by itself. And the smaller 55 gallon ponds, we're throwing a couple hundred of them in there at once. Obviously, that's not enough. We have fountains for filtration, and we also have, we're feeding them. My last algae eater just died. So I have a 5-pound bag of, what did I just say? I feel like I just messed up my words with my dyslexia. Well, my last algae eater just died, and I have a 5-pound bag of algae wafers I bought in bulk on eBay. And I'm sure the tadpoles will like those. They also really love goldfish flakes, which are mostly vegetable. And I also buy tadpole food. It's the same stuff that, if you ever had African dwarf frogs, it's the same stuff you feed them. Look at these big clumps of grass the beaver threw in here. Tadpoles love that stuff. This is one of the more shallow uncloggings. You can actually see the old beaver structure that's all torn up, probably by excavators. But they gave up on that. This is it was a newer looking structure. You could still see galvanization on the bars the first time we ever came out here. But this structure does its job. It's called the trash rack, but it's not to collect trash. It is to add more area to the opening of the pipe. Beavers could easily plug that pipe, or worse, plug it in the middle where heavy machinery can't easily get to it. An excavator could reach down here and jam back and forth a giant log or a telephone pole. It'd probably come out pretty easily, especially with a giant amount of pressure that would be built behind it. But this adds more area that the beaver has to clog. It takes longer. But I'm imagining when crews came out here, they just used an excavator to lift this thing on up. Here comes somebody on the road. There's not many people on these roads. Here they are. They're wondering, what's this guy doing? This is a pretty muddy job. This is splashing all over me. And I already have a big stain from my last job. I don't care. These clothes can get all muddy and stained up and I'll still wear them. It doesn't bother me one bit. Most of this remaining now is just mud. It's barely holding anything back, but beavers will use everything here to reinforce this dam as soon as I leave. Because this is going to make it drop slightly. They'll notice it. Now I'm going to shut the camera off and I'm going to straighten this structure out. We're just about done. I'm going to kick through a little bit of this debris, but I'm also going to lift the end of it up so everything remaining can just float on through before I put it back down and straighten it out. These mosquitoes are getting bad. The state of Massachusetts really needs to train their excavator operators and educate them exactly what a beaver structure is. So this thing here, what the excavator operator did was he somehow loosened up a gigantic rock that was there. That's why it couldn't get that close. You see, I've got it much closer now, and I got it much straighter. The thing is straightened out, but the nose is lower than it was because the rock is so big, I can't move it. And these bugs are so bad, they keep going in my ears and eyes. Half of them aren't even mosquitoes. They're these little flies all over the place. Well, it's better than it was, but this thing has a purpose, and the excavator guy left enough room that the beaver built a dam in front of it anyways. Yeah, these bugs are horrible today. Just absolutely horrible. We're going to have to start wearing bug spray on every single trip out here. That's really nice. They're starting to build a dam. You know what that dam's built with? All the debris we keep letting go through. It wasn't just little clumps, but the beavers now have straightened it out into a dam. Beavers unless they are desperate, they don't have anything else to cut down fresh, they do not reuse materials one bit. But if the materials, like if I take it out of the pipe and throw it back, they're getting underneath the heart of that. I think there's little black flies. They're everywhere, and they're not necessarily biting, but they're crawling all over me. And they try to go in your eyes and ears, just waving around, trying to make them stop. Man. Anyways, I don't even know what I was talking about. Yeah, a beaver, if you throw it in here, yeah, they'll reuse that, but they're not going to go up and get reused the material. Some people say they do, but that means the beaver's desperate and can't find anything else. They don't reuse material because it failed once, and in a beaver's mind, they don't trust that material anymore. You let it go downstream, if it's already in the water, of course they're going to use it. Beavers are usually lazy. It's rare when you see a beaver. It does happen, but it's pretty rare. Sometimes a beaver, instead of blocking the pipe, they'll build a really big dam right there, and it gets left alone. It's not affecting the roadway in any way. Of course, if it failed, there'd be a giant wave and it would take out the road. But beaver dams are pretty reliable. You don't see them failing often unless there's an unusual storm. But most beavers are lazy and they just plug the pipe. Because think about it. Before they built this pond, there was probably just a little trickling stream going through here. I think it was probably all a little bit swampy, but based on the amount of tree stumps in here, look at the tree stumps. This was all a white pine forest, like what you see right here, all in this valley. Eventually, this road was built, and beavers come along. All they have to do is plug that pipe, which takes a team of beavers just a couple hours. Then the next day, or maybe in this big area a couple days, they got a sudden pond. If they were going to put up a big wall like beavers naturally do, then it would probably take them a few months. Just like over here, this swamp may have been here before humans were even in this area developing it. If we look way down there on the end of that swamp, that entire thing is a beaver dam. Way down there, stretching all the way across with grass and little trees growing on it. The insects today are just awful, and maybe 3 of them or so at least made their way in the vehicle with me. When there's bugs like that around, I guess it's not a good idea to wear the hard hat. I was given the hard hat for when I do culvert inspections, even though how often do I really actually hit my head? But I wear it because I think it kind of looks cool. I remember the first time I ever put that thing on, I was like, wow, this thing's heavy. But I actually kind of like wearing it now. It's not good at all for those little bugs. The bugs get right underneath the hard hat, and they're going through your hair and stuff, and you can't itch them unless you take the hat off, which is a real pain in the butt. But that was kind of cool. We had a little bit of a blockage there. I remember this last year when New England had their worst drought on record, one of their driest years. The past, not 2020, wait, not 2021, 2022 and 2020 were some of the driest years on record. Very, very dry years. Supposedly 2020 was drier, more widespread, but last year was the biggest hit ever because it was involved with extreme temperatures. Millions of trees across New England died, and also it being so dry, trees produced... Is Bigfoot making lots of tapping sounds, I'm realizing? I'm gonna have to take him down. Well, last year when the trees were going through that drought with extreme temperatures, they make less sap, and sap is what protects them from the bugs. So the bugs and invasive species really got a head start last year. They took off, killing so many trees. Mainly it's the emerald ash borer, which is between the bark and the wood. It makes a gap, basically girdling the tree. So if you've ever seen a tree with the bark falling off, but it's still alive, chances are you got the emerald ash borer. That's what the emerald ash borer does. Also, the Asian longhorn beetle, it's not as widespread, but it is a very destructive creature itself. Now, I had the EPA come to my property because all the trees were dying. They're not really offering help. They just gave me advice. I am infested with the emerald ash borer. They found no evidence of the Asian longhorn beetle. They think what is inside the trees eating them is the Sawyer beetle. They said the Sawyer beetle is it's naturally found around here. The Sawyer beetle looks similar, and their larvae is almost identical when it's at that stage. I was finding hundreds of those things while splitting firewood, and the EPA gave me advice on the emerald ash borer, which is the biggest problem, they said, that while the trees are dying. So the Sawyer beetle, they said, it is becoming very destructive as these unusual droughts are happening. It is going after trees that it typically eats trees that are already rotten, dead, and dying, But when trees are stressed out from the drought, they're actually going in them too, that I found out. So I'm gonna do, a lot of my forest I have no choice but to just let it die. But some trees that I really like, I bought stuff called soil drench I'm gonna be putting down on them. But hopefully this year we don't have that drought problem. It's been really rainy. Hopefully the trees can strengthen up. It's not been a good year, or good decade, I should say, for pine trees. Pine trees are slowly being taken out and replaced by things like birch and maple, which aren't as vulnerable. Because as the pine trees are still there, the bugs will go after them first because they're the easiest to chew. All right, a little bit down the road, the bugs haven't realized I'm here yet. I want to check this pipe. Sometimes the beavers cause an issue for us here, and they have 100% caused an issue for us here. But this will be an easy one. We're gonna rip this grate off, and with my feet, we'll make all this garbage go right on through, get rid of all their building material, and that'll make a giant blast. Look at the amount of water here, but this will drain back pretty fast in a few hours or so. Now here, we're actually gonna get out camera number 2, because this is gonna be epic. All right, everybody, we're all geared up. I'm gonna go start up camera number 2 on the other side. All right, this is gonna be a nice, fast, easy job to end the day. This will be nice. See, the water's pretty deep and it's up to the top of the pipe. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I gotta kick that through. Just cleaning this thing off. It's a tedious job that nobody wants to do, but it has to be done. This is a lot of capacity. The way it's tangled in there, you cannot just knock it off. Look at this. This is so fresh. These beavers are gonna be back to plug it up tonight. But I'll be back eventually to check on it again. Here we go. This whole area smells like there's deer or moose poop in here. I'm letting the whole beaver dam foundation erode. Thankfully, this pipe wasn't deep enough to be dangerous. It doesn't got enough current to go suck me on in through. There's so much mud. These beavers are gonna be able to just smear it against this grate so easily. But you're never getting it unclogged if they build it on the middle of it. So that's why we got the beaver grate. Want to get it nice and snug so they cannot get behind it. Nice. That is pretty sticky. Stinky. The only time I ever smelled something like that before is the time I unclogged that pipe and there was floating piles of moose poop coming over. Like it had just flooded, lifting them up. Big piles of moose poop just coming right on over. That's blasting so much it pushed over the grass on the other side. Nice. That is an aluminum pipe, but it's in good shape. If it was a plastic culvert, over time it would crush. Yes, aluminum is soft, but it doesn't crush over time just by the weight of the road. But a big log truck coming through will certainly crush it. But it's been here for a while, and they don't log very often here. This was awesome. That thing was fully plugged. And take a look at the little maple tree leaves. We got our signs of spring right there. Tiny little leaves starting up. All right, this is gonna be a nice, fast, easy job to end the day. This will be nice. See, the water's pretty deep and it's up to the top of the pipe. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I gotta kick that through. Just cleaning this thing off. It's a tedious job that nobody wants to do, but it has to be done. This is a lot of capacity. The way it's tangled in there, you cannot just knock it off. Look at this. This is so fresh. These beavers are gonna be back to plug it up tonight. But I'll be back eventually to check on it again. Here we go. This whole area smells like there's deer or moose poop in here. I'm letting the whole beaver dam foundation erode. Thankfully, this pipe wasn't deep enough to be dangerous. It doesn't got enough current to go suck me on in through. There's so much mud. These beavers are gonna be able to just smear it against this grate so easily. But you're never getting it unclogged if they build it on the middle of it. So that's why we got the beaver grate. Want to get it nice and snug so they cannot get behind it. Nice. That is pretty sticky. Stinky. The only time I ever smelled something like that before is the time I unclogged that pipe and there was floating piles of moose poop coming over. Like it had just flooded, lifting them up. Big piles of moose poop just coming right on over. That's blasting so much it pushed over the grass on the other side. Nice. That is an aluminum pipe, but it's in good shape. If it was a plastic culvert, over time it would crush. Yes, aluminum is soft, but it doesn't crush over time just by the weight of the road. But a big log truck coming through will certainly crush it. But it's been here for a while, and they don't log very often here. This was awesome. I wish there was a way to have 2 trail cameras, one at each side of the pipe, but they both turn on when the one at the entrance is triggered. So that way we could get a time lapse of them clogging up the pipe and stopping the flow. Back there is like a guarantee that beavers are going to be clogging it up. But I will not leave a trail camera here. This is close to big Massachusetts cities, like I said, and it will almost certainly get stolen by somebody. Now, if I just left it there overnight, probably not. But it's Massachusetts. You'll get in trouble if you sleep on one of these roads. Great state. Well, that was awesome right there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day. I had to stop and show you guys this section of road. This is cool. It's like a tunnel. Look at that. This is really cool. Have you guys ever been driving down a road and you see an area where it's like perfectly flat that you're driving under? That's from the tractor trailers hitting it. It just cannot grow beyond that point. It's really cool when you see that. Thanks for watching, everybody.